Hey everyone, Greg here, and in this video I'm going to give you 5 tips you can use to get better image results with Canva's AI Image Generator. I'll even throw in some bonus tips, and then I even have a free giveaway that's going to really help you with my favorite tip here. So let's not waste any more time, let's jump right in. Okay, tip number 1 is be descriptive and be specific. Now, a lot of the other tips are actually going to flow off this idea, and it sounds fairly obvious, but believe me, a lot of people do not take advantage of this. The Canva AI Image Generator is capable of a lot, but people don't always realize it because they are not specific enough, they are not descriptive enough when writing their prompts. So let's look at some real-world examples and see how this comes into play. So you probably know that you can come over to this Elements tab, and right here is where you're going to find this AI Image Generator. Now you can do things like setting the aspect ratio to landscape, and then up here we're going to enter in a description. So if you do something very simple like a dog, then you're probably going to get generic results. So I can enter that in, and I'm going to get 4 results returned to me, so you can look at those results and see if you like those results. But what are some ways we can get better results? Because you probably just don't want these generic results. You probably want something a little bit more specific in mind. So how do we get better results? Well, as mentioned, you want to be more descriptive and you want to be more specific. So if you want a Dalmatian running on a beach, then that should be your prompt. You should type in Dalmatian running on a beach. Now, looking on the screen here, we can see that being more specific doesn't necessarily get you perfect results. We still have 2 tails here. It looks like we have 5 legs. So this is an imperfect tool. So you will have to experiment, but being more specific gets you in the general ballpark. And then of course you can always come down here and generate again, generate a new set of results. You can check out those new results. And of course, if you find one you like a lot, you can also hover over these 3 dots here, and then you can generate more like this, and it's going to attempt to create more images like this. So you have these ways to generate more images, keep experimenting, and keep getting closer to what you want. And of course, you can continue to update your description. Now, remember down here at the bottom, it's going to tell you how many credits you have left. So I have used one of 383 credits. So that means every time I hit generate again or generate more like this, it is going to use a credit, but you have 500 credits a month if you're a pro user, and then every month that rolls over and you start again. So as a free user, you're limited, but if you have that pro account, 500 really is a lot. So you do have room in here for generating again, experimenting around until you get results you like. But being more specific and being more descriptive is going to be a big part about getting results that fit your needs. So yes, I know it may sound simple saying be more descriptive, be more specific, but this really is going to help you start to unlock better results. So try to be more creative, try to think about specifically what you need for a project. And we're going to see as we move forward with these other tips how you really can start to unlock all sorts of other opportunities with this AI generator in Canva just by really being specific about what you want. My next tip is to let AI help with brainstorming and rewriting. So a lot of times you might have a general idea, but maybe you're looking for a few more directions, or maybe you have an idea, but you're just looking for help with the creative process. In other words, using the AI in Canva can really help get you unstuck and just give you more directions and more options. Let's take a look at what I mean. So here within Canva, if you come under the text tab, then suddenly you have this magic write tool. And this is sort of Canva's AI writing tool, which you can use for writing copy that could be used, just as the written word. But of course, you can also take that and you can plug that back into that AI image generator we were just using. So this is another way to generate descriptions for images, but also to brainstorm ideas. Let's take a look at how it works. So if I click on Magic Write now, it's going to say use 5 or more words to describe what you want to write. So let me type something in here. So I have typed in, I have a high energy dog food brand. Can you help me generate 10 social media campaign ideas? I want them to be humorous, and also give me an image description for each campaign. So what I love about this is that I'm giving it my initial idea. I'm letting it know something about me. This is my brand. This is the sort of campaign I want. I'm emphasizing that I want to be humorous, so I'm giving it details, but then I'm asking it to do this work for me. I'm not asking for 1 result, I'm asking for 10 results. So let me go ahead and hit generate and see what it comes up with here. So we can see that yes, it generated 10 ideas. So it says certainly here are 10 humorous social media campaign ideas for your high energy dog food brand. So it has Zoomies Unleashed Challenge, a series of photos featuring dogs mid-zoomy with ears flapping, tails wagging in a blur of motion. Here's a Paul Olympics event, food coma fails compilation. Then we have doggy influencer auditions, bark-tastic dance-off, dogs caught in motion while dancing with their paws in the air or spinning around, use disco balls, effects, and captions like shake those paws. So what it's doing is it's taken my prompt and it's given me all these ideas. So it's just helping with the brainstorm process here. So it's giving me ideas, it's saving me time, and of course I can take any one of these ideas and I can run with it, or I could ask it for new ideas. But let's say maybe I like this idea here of the dog Olympics. So let me just start a new page here to stay organized, and once again I'll choose that magic right, and now let me give it something new. So what I'm doing now is I'm building on that idea that it provided for me. Now I'm asking it for more direction. I said, I'm working on a social media campaign where the idea is Dog Olympics. Can you provide for me 10 different descriptions describing dogs competing in different Olympic events? So once again, hit generate, and now it's going to provide me with even more ideas, now specifically sort of zeroing in on the one idea that I thought maybe was something that would work. And so here we have a bunch of different descriptions. So again, now you could take any of these descriptions now, work on it, modify it even more, and then you can go back and start to use that image generator. Okay, and then also as you're doing things here, remember at the end you hit insert, you can put it on screen, and then once you have something on screen here, if you come up under here under this magic right options, you can come in here and make it more fun. You can shorten it so you have these different prompts and other things in here you can do to have it rewrite some things for you. So this might be useful, say if you bring something over from ChatGPT or another service. There are other services where you could do this type of thing, get it to do some brainstorming for you, get it to write some descriptions for you, but then when you come back over here to the Canva image generator, you can only use 260 characters in here. So you could come in here if you have something longer than that, and you can come over here and you could have it shorten it, and you could shorten it until you get it down to something that's going to fit in here. So I just want you to be aware you have all these different tools, and then suddenly you can use it to come up with these ideas, and then eventually use it to come up with prompts here that you can use for creating better images here inside of Canva. So now on screen, I'm just showing a few of the results I got by plugging some of these descriptions in as a prompt into that AI image generator. And now we can see these aren't perfect, and sometimes there's some wording here in the description which I didn't need, so you can come in and modify these prompts. But this iterative process is helpful just in helping you brainstorm and moving you on the path, the creative path, to getting image results here with the AI image generator. So keep this tool in mind as you're going through this process. It can be helpful. So far we've seen how it can be helpful to be descriptive, it can be helpful to be specific. We've seen how we can use Canva's AI tools to really help us with that brainstorming process. But of all the images we've seen so far, they've sort of been photorealistic in style, and we've seen a lot of imperfections. And if I'm being honest, I think maybe photorealism is probably the thing AI is worst at now, because you really need something specific to fool the eye, and it doesn't always work. But this is where you don't have to generate a photorealistic image. You could generate something that looks more like a painting or something that looks like an illustration. And this I like to refer to as visual style. And starting to understand visual style and choosing a visual style, this is my favorite tip of all these tips, because this can really help take your creativity to the next level and really just unlock endless images that you can possibly generate here using Canva's AI image generator. So let's look at this tip I like to call choosing visual style. Okay, so as we've seen, we can enter a prompt like this. We might enter something like image of a French bulldog, and we can get a result. Now the result might look like this, or it might look like something very different, because we haven't really given it a lot of direction. We're telling what we want a French bulldog, but we're not telling it anything about the visual style. So what we're going to do now is look at some different images, all of a French bulldog for each time. So each time I'm going to ask for an image of a French bulldog, but in these following images, I'm going to give it some keywords and some descriptors that really evoke a visual style. And I want you to just see how we can ask for the same subject, but get drastically different results based on this description of visual style. So let's look at some other ones now. So here for this one, we're just asking for a minimalist image, and then we give some keywords here that describe that minimalist style. And we can see that this is very Minimal, that's exactly what it is. We've gotten rid of all those distracting elements. So this might be a good prompt even if you knew you wanted to do something else, like have space for copy in the background. Maybe you want to be able to extract the image later. So maybe you would describe it as a minimalist style, or maybe that's just a look you're going for. Let's look at some other ones here. So abstract style consisting of non-representational forms, shapes, often using bold colors. So this is something completely different. Again, looking at something that's an image of a French bulldog, but completely different style. Here's one that's in a surrealist style. Go on to another one. This is in a cubist style. Lots of geometric shapes and objects. So again, these keywords, these descriptors can result in very, very different results. Here's one where we're asking for something in more of a Gothic style. Here's one where we're looking for a steampunk style. Now, sometimes it might be enough to type in steampunk style, but then other times you can strengthen that and increase the chances of getting a result that sort of fits what you're looking for by including more and more descriptors here. And so the more you practice this, the more you can cultivate a list of these different styles. And in fact, in a minute here, I'm going to tell you how you can get a free style book, which I've created a style guide that has over 100 of these styles. We're going to look at maybe 10 or 15 today, maybe a little bit more, but then I'm going to give you a free guide where you can really have a handy list of all these different visual styles that you can plug in to get these drastically different results. And then of course you can build upon that yourself, because there really is no limit to the number of visual styles you can come up with, the combination of visual styles. So let's just quickly run through some other ones here. Here we have something in the Art Deco style. Here we have a pop art style. Here we have an impressionist style. So again, you can draw on these different art genres. You can draw on basically anything at all that you can describe, and the AI is then gonna be able to reproduce it. Now, it's not perfect with everything. Sometimes you have to work and describe, use different descriptors to figure out what works and what doesn't work to invoke the type of image you're looking for. Again, here's something in a psychedelic style. Here's something that's in a Western style. So this one says rugged, nostalgic, and dusty, often featuring wide open landscapes, desert tones, and images of cowboys' frontier life and lawlessness. So again, all those powerful descriptors that really help shape not just the subject you're getting back, but then, you know, what sort of scene and setting are they set in here? Here's something that's in a Marvel superhero style. So again, very different than what we've seen in some of those other ones. Here's one completely different where this is in a quilling style. And so we're saying intricate, delicate designs made by rolling, shaping, and gluing strips of paper to create dimensional decorative art. So it's pretty amazing that you can describe this sort of style of art, give it a subject, and it's able to produce something like this. Okay, so this is pretty powerful in terms of the creative results you can get back. Here's another one, whimsical folk style. So again, there really are endless styles like this, so I'll stop there with that style. But again, I've created a guide, so if you want a free guide, I have a visual guide which gives you 100 of these different styles, actually over 100 of these different styles that you can play around with, start to figure out what you like, and then it's going to be inspiration for you to come up with your own style. So again, I will place a link in the first pinned comment below this video, and anyone that signs up for my free newsletter will get a free copy of this style guide. You can get it right away. You can start to make use of it, and really using this strategy of sort of keeping track of visual styles like this, you can try. It's really a great way to stay creative. It is really a great way to really get endless creative results from a single prompt. So make sure you take advantage and develop a visual style guide. So it's worth noting that's what I'm doing when I'm using this AI image generator, is I'm referencing that visual style guide I've created. I'm coming up with those keywords. I'm coming up with those descriptions. I paste them in here along with the subject I'm going for. And then I do not check a style down here because yes, I know that there are these built-in styles like anime and dreamy that exist here within the AI image generator, but I find those to be limiting. You can actually do way more than just the styles they show here, and you can get better results if you just leave this set to none and you go ahead and describe with keywords, with descriptions here, the style you're going for, and that style guide is going to be super helpful with that. So again, visual style, make sure you start to incorporate some sort of visual style and think about that as you're generating your AI image prompts here in Canva. My next tip is to take control of your color palette. Now, maybe color doesn't matter with every single image, but certainly for some images, you're going to want to take control of the color because that's going to influence the design, maybe the mood you're going for. Maybe you want it to match with brand colors. So just like you can take control of that visual style, you can take control of the color in your image, in your design, and you want to do that. So let's look at how this might work. So if we take back at some of our last examples when we were starting to talk about developing a visual style, we were already referencing color. So this is really a tip that expands upon that and just points out to you that one of the things you can reference when talking about a visual style is color. So obviously that visual style sometimes was a particular art medium or style, or just maybe even a tone. I mean, all sorts of things, an emotional tone. You really can take this endless directions, but one of those things which I think is going to be important because it is super important in design is color. So for example, with this one here, we were asking for bold colors, but if we had switched that up and we asked it for earth tone colors, then we can bring that back as a color palette. If we specifically asked for something with a rich pink harmony, then we can get something back with that result. So starting to reference color and giving a color description as part of your prompt is another great way to control the results and drive them in a direction that's going to be helpful to you, that's going to make it work better in your design project as a whole. So here's another example where we're returning something in that steampunk style, which by default maybe has sort of a bronzy color palette because of these sort of clockwork items that it typically includes as part of that style. But of course we could come in here and we could have asked it for bold pink colors, and then suddenly we're driving that in a direction we want. Another example here, the Art Deco example, by default we're asking for these rich toned materials. We could have switched that up and we could have asked for a green monotone color palette, and then suddenly we're getting that in our results. Let's see if I have one more example here. So here another example when we're just looking at this pop art style, and we had asked for a bold vibrant colors here to begin with, but of course we could have switched that up and we could have asked for a yellow to orange analogous color palette, and then suddenly that's what's being reflected in our results. So this is super important, and you're also starting to see with your visual style or your prompting here how you can start to drive multiple things at once. You might be asking for, a particular, medium in terms of, what material you want it to feel like, what's the tone you want it to look like, but then also there's the color palette. So you can start to invoke different styles, combine different styles, and then when you start combining these different things, that's when you really have endless creative possibilities. And also just the ability to take more control rather than just like giving it no descriptors and it's going to come back with whatever color palette it wants. Sure, sometimes you can do that, but other times you're going to want to take control of this creative process. And you do that by including certain things in your prompt, and certainly one of those things you may want to include is giving it some sort of color palette. So for example, maybe you have a high energy dog food brand, and if you were to have a product where the bag was in pink color like this, you very well might want to drive imagery that has some of that pink within it just to make it work better with your advertising. And you can do this with the prompting. So make sure you think of color when you're coming in here and you're generating these AI image results. So obviously, as with this example, you may have brand colors that are going to play an important role, or if you're working on a project, maybe you're working with another brand that has colors that you want to follow in terms of your images that you generate, but you can also just explore around the really endless places to draw color inspiration. I'll just mention a few websites, but there are endless things, and then there's also just the real world. But I'll just mention two sites really quickly. So here at Canva, if you come to canva.com colors, so that's canvas.com/colors. And then you get to this page here and you can go to this color palette generator, or if you just want to explore around, you can go under this color palette ideas. And again, you can click in on any of these to get a little bit more specific and to see what colors. So then maybe you're going to ask for midnight blue, dark blue, blue, baby blue, color terms that you can reference when you're using that image generator. And then also if you go to adobe.com, so color.adobe.com, then you can have similar tools there. You can go under this explore thing and you can explore all these different color palettes. Maybe you might type in something up here like, hey, I'm looking for something that's luxurious. It's going to bring back all these color palettes. And again, if you want to see one more specifically, you can click in, and then suddenly here, there's going to be some language that you can reference along with the colors themselves here. So all things you can type in to that prompt area in the image generator and help guide the results. So again, color, super important, and make sure when appropriate, you start to work it into your prompts. Tip number 5 is to remember Canva's other AI tools. Tools like the background remover, the magic grab tool, the magic expand tool, because you can't always create the perfect image from the start. And once you start to understand some of the limitations of the image generator, what it's good at, what maybe it's not so good at, then you can start to understand where some of these other tools can provide workarounds that can help us get to the end product that we want. Let's take a look at some examples of what I mean. Let's start by taking a look at this image here. So this image is an image that I like that was created with AI image generation. However, when you do that, you ask for a landscape image. When you ask for those dimensions, it still can only give you like an 8 by 10 or 10 by 8 in terms of width to height ratio. When you're working in a presentation that's truly that widescreen format, it's not going to stretch all the way across the screen. So maybe I want this positioned over here, and I want some copy over here on the left. That's where I can use this magic expand tool. So with this selected, I'm going to go under the edit tool. And if you're a pro Canva user, then you have this magic expand, which you'll find here. And then suddenly you can expand to fit the whole page or one of these other dimensions. But we're going to fit to the whole page here. It's showing you where it's going to expand to. We're going to go ahead and click OK. And just like the image generation, it's now going to give us 4 options. Now this doesn't always do a perfect job, just like image generation. Sometimes you have to run it a couple times to get results you like, and depending on how complex the image is, sometimes it's just not going to work, but a lot of times you can get results that work, or at least are passable for whatever project you're going to do. So you can go through here and you can look at the different image results, and most of these are going to be okay for my purpose. So let's just say I want this one here, so I'll go ahead and click done. And then I'm going to have some copy on this side of the screen, so I may darken it as well. So I might use the R key to add a rectangle. Let's make it a gradient here. We're going to rotate it this way, minus 90 degrees. We'll bring it over to the other side of the screen here, and we're gonna bring it down, expand it out something like this, and then I'm gonna just lower the whole transparency down a little bit, just so it's darker on this side of the screen, pushing focus over to our subject here. But then we're also going to come here in the text, and I'm not going to put in the exact text we would have, but something like that. And suddenly now I have a strong image. You can't tell that this was originally just part of the screen because I used that in Magic Expand. So we weren't so concerned about getting the perfect results because this is still the focus of our image, but we were able to use those tools to get to sort of a final ad here or whatever it is we were trying to create because we use those extra tools. We took advantage of the other things we can do here in Canva. So just remember that you're not always going to get there with just one image. You're going to be adding other things later. So don't forget that you have all these tools that you can make use of. So another example here, we have this image, and we saw before in one of the examples how you can ask for a color palette so you can get results like this. So this is pretty cool, but again, I might want an image that's going to fit the whole screen. So again, we can use that background remover if we want to remove the dog from the background. We can use the expand tool to expand the thing. And then you can also do a separate thing. Like I thought, hey, it might be cool since this is blue to have some sort of yellow flowers in front of them, so yellow black-eyed Susans. So this is where I specifically typed a prompt, yellow black-eyed Susan, flat illustration, something that was in a similar style to what we had here. So then I got a result where I intentionally was creating a result where I knew it was going to come in then and remove the background. So I removed the background. I did that a couple times with some different flowers, placed them in front of our dog here. And then again, I also sort of used the background remover and then sort of repositioned the dog, expanded the background. You can see a slight seam here where I did that. But again, just creating a different design by going through a couple different steps. Same thing with this thing here. I just repositioned, I added some background elements. So don't always think that it's just going to be one thing. You're going to create the perfect image with the AI image generation tool. Sometimes you have to think about creating different image assets that you're then going to be able to work with the Canva tools and putting them into a final design. Okay, let's look at another example here. Actually, let me start with this one here. So here is a fantasy scene. Now, if you ever have worked with the Canva AI image generation before, one thing you may have noticed is it's not always great at taking your instructions and interpreting them perfectly. So I sometimes will say something to it. Could you put my main subject on the right third, following the golden rule of thirds, so that I have room on the left side of my screen for image copy? And it's just not advanced enough yet to do that. It tends to put the subject right in the center. So if I had tried to generate this fantasy background by itself, or all at once, the background and the main character, my hero, together all in one image, it's just putting it right in the center of the screen. And I did not want to do that. So if I then create a separate element separately, now I can put them together. Now, using what we learned also, when I generated this particular fantasy image, I used certain descriptors like golden morning light that I also used when I generated this image. And because I did that, then I was able to put them together, and I have lighting that matches much more realistically than I would have had if I just randomly type in, female hero, and I ignore some of those lighting descriptors I used when creating the background scene itself. So you can create background elements separate from your main subject that you might put in there, but think about things like lighting. Think about things like depth of field. In other words, is it completely in focus in the background? If it's completely in focus in the background, then you don't want your subject to have fall off on itself, because then it's not going to look realistic. In other words, you have to get matching lighting, matching conditions if you want it to look realistic when you put them together. And to do that, that's when your description is going to be super important. Another example here, I have this scene right here. I thought it would be kind of cool to have a subject in here, so I took this fella right here, and again, different prompt. And because I did a simple minimalistic description, he was very easy to move from the background. Now there's still some stuff around his paws, which I could get rid of if I want to, but I didn't need to, because what I did is I just came in here, and this is all one image. But if I were to do something like come in here again, go under edit, this time we'll use that magic grab tool. Now it just grabs this portion here. I can select that, but then I can also add to it if I want. So maybe I want to brush in to get this other portion as well. I'll go as far over as this, and I'm just sort of going over where I can see there's a sharp edge, because it's going to be pretty good at finding the edges here. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab that, and then when I grab that, you'll notice that it's going to pop that up onto its own layer now. So we'll give a second for it to pop it up on its own layer. Again, this is the magic grab tool, and now we see we have this foreground layer now separated from the background. So if we look at this version here, now we can see that because of that, I'm able to place my subject. I'm able to put him in there. I actually have a layer behind him too. If I look at my layers in here, I actually have this background layer here with a little bit in the background too. So it just gives the scene a little bit more depth. And again, because I chose prompts in terms of the art style that were matching, these two subjects, the subject and the background, go together. And then because I brought the used the magic grab tool to bring this to the foreground, now suddenly I'm able to place him in the scene a little bit more realistically than if he was just sitting on the front, something like that. That's not going to look realistic, but suddenly if I push him back, then he's more set in the scene. So you have these different tools that you can take advantage of. Okay, thanks so much for watching. I hope you found some of these tips helpful. If you did, you can like and subscribe below. I'm also going to remind you how to get that visual style guide, and I'll also end with just a few bonus tips on image creation here with the Canva AI Image Generator. The first tip is just to experiment. Experimentation is really the best way you're going to get a feel for the different things you can do with the AI image tool, what works well, what doesn't work as well, and then what style works for you, what really appeals to the type of content you need, the type of content you are creating. My next tip is going to be to continue to try and experiment with other tools as well. We often fall into the trap of thinking there's one tool for everything, and that of course is not the case, especially with the explosion of AI. There's lots of other AI tools out there, so continue to try those and non-AI tools as well. Now in the AI realm, I really like ChatGPT in terms of something that's really powerful for brainstorming and having a conversation with. ChatGPT can really be good for that sort of brainstorming, that help with rewriting, so check that out. And then there is a paid ChatGPT plan that incorporates DALL-E 3, and that will do image generation as well, so you can play around with that. And then the other one I'll mention is the Bing Image Creator. I'll put links to both of these in the comments down below. So the Bing Image Creator, again, there's a free plan and then a pro plan where you can create even more images. But again, just another tool to experiment around and compare it and see how you like it compared to Canva. My next tip is not to rely on AI for everything. I see people find these AI tools and they fall in love with them because they're really fun, and then they think they're the answer for every problem, every image you need, but that's not really the case. You need to be using this selectively. You need to be figuring out when it's appropriate, when it's not the best tool for the job. And just remember, you want to use these AI tools to amplify your own personal value, your own creativity, not in replace of them. So make sure you continue to bring something unique, something something of your own personal value to all of the work that you do. And then along those same lines, my next tip is never compromise your integrity. The AI world now leads to a lot of misinformation. You start to have some of these tools sort of at your hands. There's a responsibility that comes with that. So make sure you're using these tools appropriately. Make sure you're using them in a manner that makes sense and that's not going to compromise your integrity, because that really is the one thing you don't want to fool around with. You don't want to trade on your trust. You want to be genuine and you want to be authentic with your audience. All right, I hope you found all this helpful. If you like this video, again, you can like and subscribe below. Also, in that first pinned comment below, I will place a link where you can sign up for my email and get that free visual style guide. Thanks so much for watching. Hope to see you soon. Bye.